Welcome in. It's Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will catch you up to speed on the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors with everything you need to know just over a week away from the 2023 NFL Draft in Kansas City. Before we get to that, though, here's what I want you guys to do. With the draft coming up in just a few days, if you are ready for the 2023 NFL Draft, I need you to like today's video. Smash that like button if you're ready for the draft, if you're excited about it, the Seahawks and their 2 picks that they have here. I'm calling all the 12s now, every single one of you, to like today's video. And I've been told that if you like today's video, then the Seahawks' chances of getting better players go up. So don't even jinx it. Why even take a chance at that point? Just go ahead and smash that like button, and we will begin today's show. Will Anderson Jr. is believed by many to be one of the best players in the 2023 NFL Draft. And Brock Huard, former Seahawks quarterback, legend at the University of Washington, and does an incredible job. One of my favorite analysts that covers college football for Fox Sports, also does a radio show in Seattle as well. He mentioned a possibility of the Seahawks trading their picks at 5 and 20 to get Will Anderson at 2 or 3, more than likely 2, to secure their chances of getting Will Anderson. And it's an interesting idea. We'll show you the type of trade it would take for it to happen or what Brock was talking about. But I want to dive into what Brock had to say here. This is what he said on 710 Seattle Sports Radio. 5 and 37, the first 2 picks for the first of 2 second-round picks Seattle passes for Will Anderson. Not even a question mark. 5 and 20 for Will Anderson, to me, not a question mark. So that's where, to me, I get a generational pass rusher, man, and that's what Anderson is. I'm a big fan of Will Anderson. If you've been watching this show for the last several months, I have been very high on him for a long time. I don't think it's a bad take from Brock Huard to have this idea. But for me, what I rather do is hold serve at 5 and not give up the 20th pick, not sacrifice one pick to make another pick better. Because what I look at is, with that number 5 selection, there's going to be a really good defensive player or 2 or 3 still available at that pick. You might not even have to trade up to get Will Anderson if you want him and give up the 20th pick. To me, that is a bridge too far as I'm concerned. The stats on Will Anderson were terrific. 204 tackles, 59 tackles for loss, 35.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. There was not a better defensive player in college football the last 2 seasons than Will Anderson Jr. No question about it. I mean, Mel Kiper's got him as the number 2 overall player, the number 1 outside linebacker on his big board. He was unanimous All-American the last 2 years, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC. He is that dude. All of that is fantastic from Will Anderson and what he brings to the table. Nobody is questioning in this idea anything against Will Anderson as far as I'm concerned. To me, looking at this possibility of why I'm against the idea of trading up for Will Anderson is not a knock on Will Anderson. I don't want that to be confused here. What I'm saying is the reason why I'm against trading up is because of the idea of what you have potentially elsewhere available at 5. You might even have Anderson right there. You might have somebody like Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson, whatever it may be. Here was Huard's idea. You move up to 2 with Houston, and they move down to 5 and 20. To me, that's just too high of an asking price to do that type of move, as far as I'm concerned, for a guy that might even be there anyway if you want him. Would you make this trade that Brock's talking about here of moving up to 2 and giving up 5 and 20? Let us know in the comments section. This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Type Y for yes, in for no if you would make this trade or not. Peter Schrager of the NFL Network, host of Good Morning Football, does a terrific job on that show. Also works with Fox Sports. He released his first mock draft for the season and went over both picks for the Seattle Seahawks. And the first pick was a bit of a surprise considering where other mock drafts have Seattle headed right now. With their pick at 5, Schrager is projecting the Seahawks go quarterback with Anthony Richardson out of Florida. And there is a belief, I think, among most people that the quarterbacks are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or they're going to go 3 out of 4, whatever it may be. And Anthony Richardson likely would not be available when the Seahawks pick at 5 to begin with. And not to mention, I don't like the idea of the Seahawks drafting a quarterback at the top 5, as mentioned earlier, when you have all that great defensive talent as is. So to me, that one's a bit of a head-scratcher of the idea of Anthony Richardson there at 5. Now, the next pick, at 20, Schrager projected the Seahawks going with Iowa edge Lukas Van Ness, who is a terrific football player. I would not have any complaints if the Seahawks go with Lukas Van Ness with that 20th pick if they go with him there. So I want to focus in, though, on the Anthony Richardson pick. We'll dive into that. I want to show you some statistics and more about what Schrager's talking about and let you hear from Schrager directly in a second. Before we do, draft hats are on sale now. With the draft coming up next week, you can get a draft hat and still get it in time for the draft itself. Whether it's the flat bill or it's the ball cap style, maybe it's the blue, maybe it's the white, whatever it may be, we have both combinations of Seahawk draft hats on sale now while supplies last. So go ahead and get yours today. Don't wait another minute. Get yours today. Have it in time for the draft. Wear it to your draft party, whatever it may be. Chatsports.com/Seahawks draft to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks draft. So here is what Schrager had to say about why he had Anthony Richardson to Seattle at 5. The Seahawks love Geno Smith, and there's no doubt he's the man for 2023. But with 2 picks in the top 20, they can go with a quarterback here. After all, they surely don't plan on picking in the top 5 again anytime soon. If another QB-needy team doesn't leapfrog them, the Hawks can secure a signal caller for the future. Seattle has time to get Richardson in the room with coordinator Shane Waldron so he can learn from the offense. Now, I was thinking about this, a way to describe this situation, to get you to know what I really feel about this. I think it would be unforgivable if the Seahawks take Anthony Richardson when Jalen Carter is still on the board. And that's the scenario that Peter Schrager is talking about here in this mock draft. Will Anderson's gone, but Jalen Carter ends up going 6 in Schrager's mock draft. And you're choosing Richardson over Jalen Carter? That's unexcusable. That is unacceptable. And if you're a Seahawk fan, and if that happens, you have every reason to be pissed off for that type of move. Look, the Seahawks are in a unique position right now. The NFC is wide open. There's a chance to compete and a chance to add an elite playmaker for this Seattle Seahawks team, for this team to compete at a high level. Now is not the time to take on a project quarterback when you can make that defense a hell of a lot better as far as I'm concerned. The numbers from Anthony Richardson were not good last year. Less than 54% completion percentage, just over 2,500 yards passing. He did have 26 touchdowns, 9 picks. Now's not the time for Anthony Richardson as far as I'm concerned. You had to pick one to draft. Are you listening to me or are you listening to Schrager? Let me know. Type AR for Anthony Richardson. If you're going with Jalen Carter, type JC for Jalen Carter. Let us know in the comments section below. Don't make the unforgivable mistake, Seattle. Please don't do that. For the best Seattle Seahawks coverage around, this is the channel for you. Subscribe today. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. It's Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm here breaking down the news and rumors each and every day. We got our live shows on Wednesdays. This is the place to be, and we know how to party and have a good time. If you haven't subscribed, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. All right, one more final note before we wrap up today. Are the Seahawks headed for Prime Video? Okay, you get the idea. According to Peter King of NBC Sports' Football Morning in America, he says that there could be a push from the NFL for Jeff Bezos, the Amazon founder, to buy an NFL team. Now, let me set the scene for you before we tell you what Peter King had to say. You go back to the Commanders ownership situation. Bezos ended up backing out of interest. I know that he's got roots in Seattle, but he's been like a D.C. guy as of late. So it seemed like a potential natural fit for Bezos to own the Commanders, but there's been a contentious relationship over the years between Bezos and Dan Snyder, and sounded like Dan Snyder didn't want Bezos to own the Washington Commanders. So what about the idea of him coming back to the Pacific Northwest and owning his hometown team, the Seattle Seahawks? Here's what Peter King had to say. The NFL is lobbying Bezos quietly but hard to buy a franchise. The advantages of buying the Seahawks are many. Seattle has a consistent winner with a great GM coach team in John Schneider and Pete Carroll. Seattle has an incredible fan base. Seattle has a state-of-the-art loud home venue in Lumen Field. And Seattle has one of the best training facilities in pro sports. All four of those are far, far better than what Washington has. Why would Bezos not want Seattle if he's serious about buying into the league that prints money? Now, here's an interesting note, whether it's Bezos or anybody out there. The Seahawks at this point in time are not for sale. And here's why. Because of the way their contracts are written with the state of Washington, the lease agreement, and all that stuff there, a sale before May 2nd of 2024 would cost the Seahawks 10% going back to the state of Washington. So for Jody Allen and company, there's no reason to sell the team right now until that time passes. You could sell the team on May 3rd, but you're sure as hell not going to sell the team on May 2nd. So whether it's Bezos or whoever it may be, eventually Jody's going to sell the team, and we'll move on from the Allen family. Whether it's Bezos or whoever, it's going to be a bit. But for Seattle, that asking price is going to break the record that we saw from Washington. This will be, whenever it does happen, the most expensive sale in NFL history. Now, here's one thing. I know Bezos draws the headlines, but in this day and age, it takes an ownership group to buy a team. It takes more than one. Bezos is going to have some other people involved, even Jeff Bezos himself. Who should be a part of the next ownership group of the Seahawks? I would love to see some of the throwback players of some sorts be involved. Like a Steve Largent or something like that. Who comes to mind that you'd like to see? Some Seahawk greats, maybe some Seahawk businessmen. Maybe you're thinking of another billionaire like Bill Gates or something. Tell me who should be a part of the next ownership group for your Seattle Seahawks. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there, and I will see you next time here on Seahawks Today.